Wow, I've came a long way. This is my 3,000th video, and I just hit 1,007 subscribers. Thank you for that. Thank you, everyone. So I only felt like it was right to do a thank you shout out video. I'm sorry if I forget somebody, but I'm only human. I'm gonna try my best to shout out as many people as I can. Alright. Much love to Wee Scheme. Thank you. You are an amazing person. Much love to J Law. His very first reaction I ever did. And he hasn't stopped believing in me, which is nice. Much love to Thor Jellicoe. Make sure you go check out his album Stepping Stones. It is definitely amazing. Shout out to Grace. Much love to Grace. Sometimes she'd be the only one in my live streams. And she definitely helps putting a smile on my face for sure. Much love to 100% Beef. He made me a whole birthday video. Definitely helps keep me motivating. I still watch it a lot. I still watch it. Much love to Peaceful. Peaceful made a whole song. He's saying that I helped him. You helped me too, Peaceful. You helped me keep going too. Much love to It's a Rap, yo. Much love to April G. Showers. Make sure you pray for her. She's going through a tough time. Okay, now. Much love to the circuit. Much love to Torch's music. Much love to Runock. Much love to Glyphic. Much love to Notebook. Much love. Much love to Axel the Wanderer. Much love to Organic Reactions. Much love to Wolverine Reacts. Much love to the circuit. Much love to Taylor. Much love to T Reveal. Much love to NK. Much love to Kate Mitchell. Much love to Duncan Raps. Much love to Nick D. Much love to Little Memer. Much love to Ghetto Gabe. Much love to Little Random. Much love to Depression. Much love to Eon. Much love to Halen. Much love to Chase. Much love to Casual Cheater. Much love to Jekyll. Much love to the whole Asylum. Much love to Nefarious. Much love to Trippy J. Much love to Layman. Much love to Nazo. Much love to Fond. Much love to DK Rap Artist. Much love to Jay Wyatt. Much love to CJ Lyles. Much love to Mythic Music. Much love to Alpha Byte. Much love to Elijah Kyle. Much love to King Blitz. Make sure you get their album called Written in Stone, coming out August 28th. Much love to Downtown. Much love to Gemini Genesis, aka Together They Are, Radio Killed the Hip Hop Star. Make sure you go check out their album Volume 2, Dynamic Duo. It is fire for sure. Much love to Abstract. Much love to Vinjay. Much love to the Real Young Swag. Much love to Abstract. Much love to Much love to Adams Avenue. Much love to Foe. Much love to everyone. Much love to Godson. Much love to Jedi Master Nico. Much love to Tiptoe. Much love to Swayze Music. Much love to. Much love to Jackson Pierce. Much love to Silent. Much love to Bowser Official. Much love to Dicko. Much love to Tage. Uh, uh, fuck. Much love to Spidey. He used to go by no alias. Much love to Jay Lively. Much love to. Fuck, I forget a bunch of names. Uh, much love to YK. Much love to Icy London. Much love to Good Rap Music 101. Much love to Lucifer Grime. Much love to Shallow Slum. Much love to Jobin. Much love to Jake Sushi. Uh, much love to Selvik. Much love to DZ. Much love to 10K. Much love to Roman 365. Much love to Crazy. Much love to Holla at Crazy. Much love to um I'm gonna be mad at myself if I forget a name. But anyways, I'm gonna go through the list. I have a list right here of my subscribers. You can't see it, but I'm gonna go through the whole list of the subscribers. So yeah, some people might get shout out twice. Uh, sure, still recording. Good. Okay. Shout out to Invade. Shout out to Iden Versio. Shout out to Mont Mode Studio. Shout out to JFR Reactions. Much love to Dark Gamer 215. Much love to Blue Pauls. Much love to. By the way, I'm going in order for newest subscribers to older. I'm sorry, but that's the way I have it right now. Much love to Aaron Soard. Much love to Mon Okuma. Much love to Life as a Normal Waifu. I'm probably saying that wrong. Sorry. Much love to Curtis Wagner. Much love. Much love to That Kid Cry. Much love to Rizzle Music. Much love to It's Mighty. Much love to. I'm gonna keep thinking of names too, so not just go through those. Names as I go along too. Okay. Much love to O to Su OOTSUTSUKI O to Stuki. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. I'm only human. Indira. Shout out to Courtney Line. Shout out to Curtis Gracie. Shout out to Lai Rowley. Shout out to Mike's 85 Dark Mike 85's Dark World. Shout out to Roman XO. Oh, I might shout out people twice if I come up with names too. Shout out to Glyphic. Shout out to Notebook. Shout out to Torch. Shout out to Runok. Probably already shouted him out. Well, I'm giving him a shout out again. Shout out to Roman XO. Shout out to Almond. Uh, Shout out to Autumn XO. Shout out to Ku 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 Li, I can't even say that name. Kuuliileilani. Sorry. SCHUH. Such. I don't know. Sorry. I'm not good at saying names. Shout out to Mark G. Shout out to Shout out to NEB. Shout out to Michael Allen. Shout out to Aaliyah Striving. Shout out to Kyrie Rivas. Shout out to Solo Music. Shout out to Nintendo Malate. Shout out to Ruby Tuber. Shout out to Jonathan Jennings. Shout out to the SVR. Shout out to Ch- Ch- uh, Chiotis England. Shout out to Ender the Fox. Shout out to Wade Clock 904. Shout out to Nibs Music. Shout out to Corn Smug. Shout out to the Rod My Gamer XD. Shout out to Stephen Main. Stephen Main. Shout out to Catwoman the Demon. Alright. Shout out Ian Volmer. Shout out Darius Peters. Shout out Sonia Rick It. Shout out Anime and Smile. Shout out to Mythic 2. Shout out Mythic Music. Shout out the Stone Cold Beer. Shout out to I Am Godson. Shout out to Silent Soul 666. Shout out to LSTCZ. Shout out to the Real Young Swag again. Shout out to Rap Fan. This is going to be a long video. Okay. Shout out to Per Zach. Shout out to Edgar Afrain R. Rise Astrada. Sorry if I said her name. Shout out to Amber Lee. Shout out to Peter Sham. Shout out to Trunk Beats. Trunks with the sauce. uh, Shout out to Steve Benethal. Shout out to ISO Soul and Nam Gaiba Kata. Shout out to Anime Stud. Shout out to, I'm just gonna say AIC. Shout out to AIC. Shout out to George Martinez. Shout out to Random Memer 33 and Ghetto Gabe. Alright, shout out to Ghetto Gabe, Little Memer, and Random Little Random again. Uh, Shout out to TyQ. Shout out to Official Ends. Shout out to Jin Column. Shout out to Area Plays Fortnite. Shout out to Ryan. I'm messing that up. Jane Rodriguez. Shout out to David Anzen. Still recording? Okay, good. Shout out to Troy A. Chili's. Shout out to Public Television. Shout out to Tom's Godson. Shout out to Soup. Shout out to Gray Fox 101. Shout out to NTR. Shout out to JL Melrose. Shout out Captain Rays 15. Shout out to the Curl Izzy Boy HU Army. Hell yeah. This could be a long. Shout out to Highwire Music. Shout out to Zachary Josepher. Shout out to Tinkerbell. Shout out to Connor McLeanan. Shout out to Saints Deceive, Saints Music. Shout out to Comfortable. Shout out to Nada Mixed Beats. Shout out to Peaceful again, Peaceful Reactions channel this time. Shout out to Manolo Carolho Monterio. Shout out to Kemp Todd. Shout out to Sick L. Shout out to Ill Rhymes. Shout out to AMV Outbreak. Shout out to KT Kraka. Shout out to Aaron Lindley. Shout out to Nada Mixed Beats again. Got two channels, okay. So shout out to Danny Martian again. Shout out to Crypto Fenta. Shout out to Tamika Smith. Shout out to Jonas Wright. Shout out to Adil Kamani. Shout out to James Wilson. Shout out to JT Imaging. Shout out to Foe again. Shout out to Ebbs Avenue again. Just in case. Shout out to Roberto Regal. Shout out to KU. Shout out to YAIXZA. I'm not sure how to say that. Yeah, Ixa Alvarez. Shout out to Damon Burns. Shout out to Bowser Official again. Shout out to Gang Gang. Shout out to Thrillist Breaks. Shout out to Lightspeed Gaming Fire. Shout out to Mr. Cujo. Shout out to Scotty Scotty Kanovic. Shout out to Unheard Finest. Shout out to Lock Robster 22. Shout out to Andre Jones. Shout out to OG Verbs. Oh my goodness. OG Verbs is a wordsmith. Sure. Shout out to AJ Gellison. Shout out to Zina Copeland. Shout out to Sushi World 999. Shout out to Raul Badadzan. Shout out to YK again. Shout out to Jordan Oliver. Shout out to the 33rd. Shout out to Nixie. Shout out to Kyle Sanders. Shout out to Shane Johnson. Shout out to Vincent Vega. Shout out to London JDK. No, JDT. Shout out to Sprouse Spencer. Shout out to Johnny Boy. Shout out. Let's talk about it. Yep, let's talk about it. Shout out to N. Ek, Ek Cooney. Shout out to J. Swerver is too hot. All right. Shout out to King C88. Shout out to Rudu Doo 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 Doo. Yeah, you just made me say doo doo. Shout out KBA Little Diversity 230. Shout out to Witchster. What is it? Not. Oh. Shit. Okay, I had it on the last 90 days, not the. Alright, so. Bear with me. I had it on the wrong thing. Alright. Shout out to T Reveal again. Shout out JT the G. Shout out to Angelita Marcado. Shout out to Taylor, yeah. Shout out to Twistello. Shout out to The Last Composer. Shout out to Contagious. Shout out to M. David Dillinger. Shout out Chuck Skeeter. Shout out Shadow Wolves. Shout out Terency Corlius. Shout out to Trip I Square 17. Shout out to Ryo Gilbert. Shout out to Ridge Baker, which is Torch. Shout out to Torch again. Shout out to Mel Sotelo. Shout out to Tiptoe again. Shout out to Amazing HD Gaming. Shout out to Corey Wheeler. Shout out to CP Time. Shout out to Borderline Shadows. Shout out to Ryan Batchman. Shout out to Dia Paston. Shout out to Miss Anonymous. Shout out to CB Time again. Shout out to Monica Susie Liabo Wolf. Shout out to Kevin Lemansky. Damn, the long video. Shout out to Addictive Addicts. Shout out to CJ Neo. Shout out to Nathan X. Shout out to Lee Nathan. Shout out to John's Production. Shout out to L Rhymes again. Shout out to Hyper Game XP. Shout out to Nah Dude. Shout out to Earl the Monarch. Shout out to Caleb Todd. Shout out to Good Soul. Shout out to Carrion Soul. Shout out to Sergio Ozuna. Shout out to Summer Nether. Shout out to Warren Jinga. Oh yeah, Warren Jinga is freaking awesome. Shout out to Elijah Morgan. Shout out to Halen again. Shout out to Diamond Soul Productions. Wow. Shout out to Misa Drew. Shout out to Russian Soul. Shout out to Runak again. Shout out to RHEC. Shout out to Mark C. Shout out to Blunts B11. Shout out to Underground Army. Shout out to Zach Juggalo. Shout out to Nicholas White. Shout out to Wolf Boy. Shout out to Lord Monkey. Shout out to Wolverine Reacts. Shout out to Serious Eye. Hell yeah. Serious Eye makes really good music. Shout out to See the Gray. Shout out to Gifted Entertainment. Shout out to Cody Miller. Shout out to Maya28. Shout out to Ishmael Dempsey. Shout out to Lucifer Grime again. Shout out to Marshall Bishop. Shout out to Standy Brygen. Shout out to Reflect. Wow. Reflect makes really good music too. Shout out to Jonathan Hammer. Shout out to Lucy. Man, it try. I'm gonna have to come back. I'm back. I had to take a quick break. Yeah. Alright, back to shout outs. Shout out to G Money. Shout out to Nighttime Safari. Shout out to Dills. Shout out to NORAD. Shout out to Durand. Shout out to Sage. Shout out to Charlie Gist. Shout out to X-Ray. Shout out to Sage. Shout out to Blessed. Shout out to M80. Shout out to Cryptic Wisdom. Shout out to Skyline. Shout out to B-Face Small. Shout out to Grinch Mob. Back to the list. Shout out to Lois Mac in Tyra. Shout out to White Rashad. Shout out to Boston BK Mendez. Shout out to Mary Small. Shout out to J-Law once again. Go check out his reaction channel, My World Reacts. Shout out to James Phillips. Shout out to Damage Season. Shout out to Ramaswamy S. Shout out to Mitchell Harrison. Shout out to Who is Kyan Ki. Shout out to Dark Spark 24. Shout out to Florin Dubry. Shout out to LB Sickening Schizo Int. I'm guessing it stands for entertainment. ENT. Okay. ENT. Shout out to Nick Pinkborough 1. Shout out to Mr. Psy. Shout out to Jen. Ignite Music Group. Shout out to Homa Football. Shout out to D. Annie All Aol. Surrey. Shout out to Austin Ashby. Shout out to Brent Kelly. Shout out to Ronan Vindicator. Shout out to Neo Alpha Omega. Shout out to Silk Toast. Shout out to The Blazing Kid. Shout out to 44 Shakar. Shout out to Manchester All Day. Shout out to Whizzle Reacts. Shout out to Gail and Rhyme. Shout out to Benjamin Hunter. Shout out to Jay from the Redneck River. He made my profile picture. The one you see with Nightcrawler. He made that for me. Thank you. Once again. Shout out to Corey Tauntaun. Shout out to Emily Elkins. Shout out to Ground Up Studios. Shout out to That Kid Cry and Rizzle Music once again. Shout out to Mr. L. Hell yeah. Shout out to Jonathan Talent. Shout out to Devo the Amovert. Shout out to Alex Wooton. Shout out to Breezy the Real. His music's amazing. Shout out the Real Gaming Expert. Shout out to Carson the Rapper. Shout out to Mighty once again. ITZ Mighty on everything. Shout out to River City Music. Shout out to Jos Flores. Shout out to Dominic La Uzi. Shout out to Video Gamer 937. Shout out to Nate, Will, and Brooke. Shout out to Ronald Lacey. Shout out to Mythic Music once again. Shout out to Jack, EU Jen. Shout out to Chicken Dinner. I want some chicken dinner. Shout out to Holly once again. Hashtag Fire Squad. Hashtag Asylum. Love Lord. Shout out to Maru Taylor. Shout out to Maria White. Shout out to Deloman_8. Shout out to James the Flame. Wow, wow. Shout out to Malcolm Henderson. He makes really good music too. Shout out to James Bohan. Shout out to hashtag Hades, hashtag Underworld Entertainment. Shout out to Alabaster Red. Shout out to Brianna Janae. Shout out to Nathan Durant. Shout out to Ben Tony Music. Shout out to Stone Phantom. Shout out to Ninja Killzoo. Right, that is Dylan from high school. Pretty sure. So, shout out to Anxiety. That ain't anxiety. A-N. It's like diet, except there's an X instead of a D. And exit Amar. Shout out to Jake Sushi once again. Damn, you've been subscribed since August of last year. I knew you've been around for a while, but damn, I appreciate Amar eating last two subscribers. Shout out to Patty. Shout out to Unknown2770. Shout out to TSS Dreamas. Shout out to Villain Lestra. Shout out to Cody Lorenzen. Shout out to Hillbilly Reacts. Hell yeah. I didn't realize you subscribed that one. That's awesome. Shout out to SS underscore. Shout out to Bobby John Denham. Shout out to Noah My Hammate. Shout out to Scrap Hat. Shout out to Don Galley. Shout out to Be More Organic Farm. Be More Organic Farm. Not fam. Farm. Shout out to Cherry Harper. Shout out to Nia Foreigner. Shout out to Eric Niss. Shout out to Lyric Lee 1984. Shout out to Bobby Bestie. Shout out to the Dead Cast Collector. Shout out to Brian Traley. Shout out to Dominic Delge. Shout out to Ayumi Cook. Yummy Cook. Yummy Cook. Okay. Shout out to Jay Lively once again. Shout out to Amit. Shout out to Holden Charlton. Shout out to Bun Bun Dancing Demon Bunny. Shout out to Mark B. 1181. Shout out to Jaden Horn. Shout out to Breeza Waldez. Shout out to Jeremy Albertson. Shout out to Damian Hendricks. I really want him to put us in the music, but cool. Shout out to Q. Shout out to Painting Stove. Shout out to Billy Ray Pro. Shout out to Bodiz. Oh yeah, shout out to Problematic. Oh my goodness. Problematic's so awesome. Shout out to Odin Ills Martinez. Shout out to Jordan Rangel. Shout out to Problematic again. Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. Shout out to Josh Kuhn. I miss talking to Josh, for sure. He was the one who introduced me into Hobson and Tech Nine. I would not have known about all these underground artists if he didn't tell me about them too. So I thanked him a lot. Shout out to Amanda Hotchkiss. She's a big NK47 NK. He's no longer NK47 NK and Serious Eye fan. Shout out to Josiah is happy. That is J Law's son. Shout out to That Kid Cry once again. Very nice. Shout out to John Co9 WWE Universal Mode. Shout out to Dark Gamer 13. Shout out to YRN underscore OD. Shout out to Carrion Sill and Slick Toast once again. Oh yeah. Shout out to Torch once again. Torch's music is the name of his channel. Shout out to Caroline Howell. Shout out to Walker HD. Damn. Really seeing a lot of people are subscribed. It's crazy. I've come a long way. Shout out to Duncan Raps. Shout out to JLaw once again. Now all the rest of the subscribers were before I even had any videos. This is crazy. Shout out to Domo Sloth Music. Shout out to Dim TV. Shout out to the 8th producer. Shout out to Ty to Legit 100. Shout out to the Pointed. Shout out to Blue Sharpie. It's crazy that y'all were subscribed before I even had any videos. Anyways, I'm sorry. I am so sorry if I forgot a name. If I forgot to mention you. Please don't be mad at me. I'm only human. And I love you even if I didn't mention you. I'm sorry. But I love you a lot. Anyways, thank you. Much love and respect. The Timothy, aka the listener. Until the next one. Peace.